Now, the online retailer Amazon's announcing it's creating 7,000 new UK jobs after a sales surge over the past few months. But it comes as jobs are being slashed in high street shops, with many chains facing a really difficult future. So, is this a further sign of the future shopping trends widely predicted and sped up by the pandemic? Well, joining us now is the consumer expert, Kate Hardcastle. Kate, good morning to you.
Hi, good morning, Laura.
This is good news that Amazon's creating so many jobs, and it's a lot of jobs, 7,000.
It's a significant amount of jobs. I think it will not be too far from your listeners' mind that just a few weeks ago we were talking about Marks and Spencer's cutting 7,000 jobs. And I think it shows that direct change in the way that we're shopping. Yes, change and movement to online had already started, but what we've seen is almost a doubling up, both in online grocery and also online non-essentials, so non-grocery. And that change hasn't moved really since the stores have reopened. And I think that's just indicative of the way that we are shopping, indicative of the way that we would prefer perhaps to shop, both maybe our confidence still not reassured by going back into stores. And I think perhaps also because we've grasped a different way of life, and online has really rallied in terms of its involvement. It's been very agile and nimble in the main, and has really changed to the speed of the drum that consumers want to do to see the changes.
Do you think the change will remain though, or do you think we will start to move to an extent back to the high street?
I think that there will be some shift back to the high street, but I'm afraid that I think that this change is pretty permanent. And I can tell that because these figures are not seasonal jobs, these are permanent jobs. And also when we're talking to consumers in surveys and understanding the direction of travel, they really do see a very different life ahead for the good. So I think what it's about is trying to understand, how do you readjust the high street to be not just based purely on retail, but a social offer? And how do you make sure that these online businesses and brands are serving the customer to the fullest?
Yeah, and you mentioned the Marks and Spencer's jobs, 7,000 lost there whilst Amazon are creating 7,000. But are these like-for-like jobs? Are we in danger of losing a huge skill base here, actually, when you take away jobs from actual stores?
Absolutely not like for like. Obviously, online runs in a very, very different way. It's picking, packing, delivery, and some customer service, maybe by phone or by interaction on technology. Whereas we know traditional retail was very much a lot of front of house jobs in those retail environments where you would be on your feet, you'd be serving, interacting, and engaging with the consumer.
With knowledge as well.
Yes, absolutely. I was going to say the service and the knowledge element of it, the face-to-face is always an important part of society. It serves a very different strand. And we've got to remember that we do have an isolation crisis across the whole of the UK, and a lot of older customers would really prefer that interaction and engagement because it serves that idea of actually being around people, the idea of community. We don't want to lose that, but I will just say that actually there is a green shoot. We have seen smaller independent businesses being used, and we have seen a little resurgence in some of the smaller towns and villages as people have shopped local because they're working local. So, there is some positivity in a different use of the high street.
Amazon and others like it have been criticised for paying too little tax, though. Do they have an unfair advantage over high street stores in terms of their overheads?
What I will say is online isn't just a dream of a channel. It has huge costs. A lot of online operators still actually not breaking the profit boundaries because of its setup, its operations, its delivery, and the fact that we all expect a lot of this picking and packing and free delivery for no cost whatsoever as consumers. That's the way a lot of the businesses were built to start with. You could go back in and say, well, that's probably not the right thing to do because it's changed the consumer mindset on it. But they do have large costs associated with it.
Kate, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Kate Hardcastle there, the consumer expert.